All right, you know what drives me crazy? Watching new developers think that simply writing code makes them a software developer. There's this new trend called vibe coding, where folks use AI to just throw together whatever code feels right without any understanding of fundamentals, testing, or maintainability. So after 25 years in the trenches, I can tell you my favorite commits aren't the ones that are thousands of lines of code long. They're the ones actually removing code to make things for simpler solutions. So I'm gonna show you today why real software development is so much more than just vibe coding with your AI agent and making things work on accident. So let's dive into it today. Welcome to Startup Hack. I'm Spencer Thompson. Here at Startup Hack, we love to train software developers in our licensed coding boot camps and build custom software solutions for companies. With a decade of executive leadership as a fractional CTO and 25 years in software development, I've mastered transforming tech teams and product. All right, the most valuable developers on my teams aren't the ones who write the most code. They're the ones who solve problems with the least code. I regularly tell my development team that the best code that you can write is often no code at all. Every line of code you write is a line that you have to maintain, debug, test, and explain to future developers. So when I'm reviewing a pull request, I get suspicious when I see massive additions without corresponding deletes, right? So my favorite commit is the ones where you delete large chunks of complex code. The ability to reduce complexity rather than add it is what separates senior developers from those that still learn the craft. And this is where I see AI agents falling all over the place. They're implementing crazy things without any knowledge about what that's going to do in the long run and how they're going to maintain it or the security vulnerabilities it may be introducing. So vibe coding is the practice of coding and cobbling together a bunch of AI solutions that you think might compile and actually run without having any established patterns or principles. Yeah, you see this all the time. Developers are copy and pasting from Stack Overflow, pulling it out of AI and telling AI, go write me this app, right? When they have absolutely no idea what it does. And by some miracle, it actually does. And then they try to launch it and it fails miserably, right? Then they bounce from error message to error message, putting it into ChatGPT, trying to make random changes until somehow mysteriously their code actually works. Now, this approach might get you something working temporarily, if you want to show a proof of concept, or you're not technical and you want to build something without having to, spend money on a developer or get a technical co-founder. But I've inherited code bases that were built entirely on some of these type of coding principles. And let me tell you, the tech debt was so severe that we had to completely rewrite the whole system. So the worst part with vibe coders is they often think that they're actually being productive because they write lots of code, right? But writing lots of code does not make you a software developer. Real software development is about thinking in systems, not individual lines of code. You need to understand how components interact, how data flows, and how changes in one area are going to affect the entire application. The best developers I've seen that I've worked with spend more time thinking about and designing the solution than actually typing code. Software architectural skills, understanding patterns, trade-offs, and the appropriate abstractions can't be learned through vibe coding. They're not going to always be taught you by AI. I've seen developers write beautiful, elegant solutions in a few hours after spending days thinking about the problem. The planning, modeling, and design phase that happen before coding are often where the real development occurs. This is why when you take something and write it really quickly, then refactor it or write it a second time, and then possibly even in some cases, if it's important enough, you might even still throw that second attempt away and write it a third time. This is what real software development is about. Vibe coders typically have an allergic reaction to writing tests because it feels like extra work. In reality, proper testing is what allows you to confidently make changes and know that you haven't broken existing functionality. So I've seen entire projects fail because developers skipped testing and couldn't safely modify their increasingly brittle code base. So the question isn't whether the test will take time, it's whether you want to spend that time writing tests or hunting down mysterious bugs in production. So I really know that those developers who really truly understand software development are those who take the time to do the testing. Now, if your company lacks proper practices and your developers are flying without any kind of safety net and they're all just relying on AI, let us help you out, because here at Startup Hack, we actually are software developers and we know how to implement pragmatic testing and other strategies to help you catch bugs before they reach your customers. So check out startuphack.com/Spencer because we can help you out. Now, vibe coders typically dive in and worry that, one of the things you'll see with AI all the time is it's not going to also include a lot of documentation, or it will be overly documented in a lot of cases, right? And you can spot some of this as a senior developer as you dig into it. Good comments don't describe what the code does, they describe why it's doing it. And that's one of the things you can always spot from AI generating code, right? Now, the other problem too is that I see too many developers falling in love with their clever, complex solution when simpler approaches would work. Maintainable code is code that other developers or future you can understand and modify without a lot of fear. That brilliant one-liner that uses 5 ternary operators might look impressive, but it's a nightmare for the rest of the person who has to touch it, right? So I tell my teams that if they're particularly proud of how clever their code is, they should probably rewrite it. Now, vibe coders often ignore performance because they may not even understand it. They've chatted into ChatGPT, it's produced something, by some miracle it compiles and they try to ship it. Most cases, the vibe coders don't even actually know how to ship it. They don't even know how to get it to production. This is one of the big fell downs with vibe coding. They don't understand complex systems. Or they may actually get into an environment somehow and they have no idea how to connect it to other systems. Good software development includes thinking about edge cases, thinking about what other systems are going to do, and the performance impact that can test a lot of other things when it's impacted by other things, right? So sometimes the most important performance improvement isn't adding clever optimizations. It's removing unnecessarily work entirely. Now, version control is more than just a backup. Using Git using Git simply as a backup tool misses the powerful collaboration and code management capabilities it provides. Professional developers use version control to document the evolution of their code base through meaningful commits and branches. This is one of the funny things I see all these time from these people who try to generate code with AI. I'll then ask them, well, where's your code? Well, it's right here. And you're like, well, no, why wouldn't you give me like the GitHub repo? And they're like, what's that? And they don't even know this, right? And I've seen people waste so many times trying to resolve merge conflicts that could have been avoided with proper branching, proper commits, committing in small batches, and then merging and working with standard branching protocols. So a well-structured Git history tells the story of your application's development and serves as a valuable troubleshooting tool. And guess what? Most AI tools have no idea about a Git history. They can't follow it, right? And they aren't going to even know what the comments mean as they even look at the commit differences. Atomic commits, where each commit represents one logical change, makes it much easier to understand, review, and revert changes needed. So I can tell you that your version control practices reveal more about your development maturity than almost anything else. Now, if your team is struggling with some development maturity and version control practices and other things like this are either non-existent or in a mess, reach out to us, because here at Startup Hack, we love to do consulting to help with your development team. So check out startuphack.com/Spencer because we can help you out. Now, security. There's another place where I see vibe coders miss all the time. They'll introduce either old, outdated libraries because AI has introduced something that they didn't know, or they've just copy and pasted some code over and then just blindly included the libraries that were included with it, which might have been from 10 years ago. So I've watched companies suffer devastating breaches right now because developers or people who weren't developers try to develop using AI. Security isn't about preventing malicious attacks. It's about protecting user data and maintaining trust. Modern development includes secure coding practices, dependency scanning, and regular security reviews. The most expensive code you'll ever write is insecure code that will lead to a data breach and damage your company's reputation. Now, you've got to be able to be continuous learning. And this is where I actually think AI works really well. I think it's great to run your code against AI and say, hey, what are some things I might be able to do different here? It's great at giving you a good code review and let you look at some things that you could change. This is a great thing. If you're relying on it solely to write the code for you, you're not a software developer, you're a keyboard monkey. Software developers understand systems, they understand what's going on in the code, they understand what's going to happen when they implement this piece of code into production, and it affects the other systems. The moment you stop learning and relying on AI is the moment you start becoming obsolete. I tell my developers all the time that that AI is not going to replace them as a software developer, but a software developer who knows how to use AI might. Now, have you ever had that one person who wrote a whole piece of code or a whole system and no one ever understood it, right? Have you ever seen, is it a normal good practice to have one person on your team just write one big major system and ship it to production without anybody looking at it? Like, how terrible is that? And yet that's what we're hearing over and over again right now when these vibe coders are using AI to produce code without real software developers reviewing it, implementing it, putting it into production. It's more dangerous than that because the stuff coming out of this AI generated code is often insecure and poorly written. So real software development is a team sport that requires communication, collaboration, and mutual respect. I've consistently found that diverse teams with good collaboration practices outperform collections of individuals who are rock stars. Code reviews aren't just about catching bugs. They're opportunities to knowledge share and mentoring. The myth of a 10x developer cranking out code alone in a dark room is a myth. If you have one guy that's only pushing code to production, that's a terrible software development practice. After managing development teams for over a decade, I can tell you that collaboration skills are more important than raw coding abilities. Understanding the business domain and user's need is as important as technical skills for effective software development. And this is again where we see vibe coding and AI fall down, because what's the definition of a perfect set of requirements? It's called code that works in production without a bug. I've watched teams build technically impressive solutions that completely miss the actual business requirements. The most valuable developers I've worked with can translate between technical considerations and business objectives. So I can tell you that technical excellence without business context awareness rarely delivers real value. So I've debunked a little bit of what I've seen from vibe coding going on so far. What are your thoughts? I love to hear your thoughts. Tell me that I'm wrong. Tell me that the vibe coding is going to build the next thing for you and it's going to save you millions of dollars or make you millions of dollars without having to pay a software developer. I understand as a business owner the approach to this, but as a business owner, let me tell you, your best investment is in some good software developers. Now, what are your thoughts? I love to have a great discussion. Here at Startup Hack, we love to train software developers in our licensed coding boot camps, as well as to build custom software solutions for companies. So reach out because we'd love to help. Check out startuphack.com/Spencer, and we'd love to do consulting or help you with getting your development stack ready. And here's some great information if you're ready to dig in and learn about some full stack software development.
Want to become a software developer but don't want to spend 4 years in college and rack up massive student loan debts? Think you need technical expertise to get started? Welcome to Startup Hack, a better way to start your software career without student loans and years without income. One-on-one tutoring is included so you never get stuck and have guidance through the whole process. No technical experience is necessary. Learn at your own pace and in your own space. Startup Hack has worked with local state agencies in your area to make it so that qualifying students can get the program costs covered entirely and students can start earning while they learn.
Startup Hack's .NET Coding Bootcamp was a game changer for my career. As someone with no prior programming experience, I was initially intimidated by the idea of learning to code, but the instructors at Startup Hack broke down complex concepts into easy to understand lessons and provided hands-on projects that really cemented my understanding. The curriculum was comprehensive and up to date and got me ready for my first job. What really set Startup Hack apart was the focus on practical, real-world skills. Thanks to Startup Hack, I landed my dream job as a .NET developer within weeks of graduating. I went from knowing nothing about code to building professional-grade web applications in just a few intense months. If you're looking to break into .NET development or level up your coding skills, I cannot recommend Startup Hack enough.
Complete our 3-month coding bootcamp, gain hands-on experience, and land a paid internship. With 2 years of experience, on average, our graduates are making over $80,000 per year. The 3-month program includes technologies from Microsoft, Google, and Facebook. No debt, just a quick path to earning. Check out startuphack.com to code your future and start today.